Hello and welcome to northern Spain, where we're having a look at the much anticipated, long awaited Audi Q6 e-tron, which is, in Audi's own words, a mid-size luxury vehicle. And I hear what they're saying, but having looked at the now called Q8 Audi e-tron quite a few times over the last few years, you'd kind of say, yeah, but it's still a big car. And for once, I'm delighted to say I have the price of a car on an international media launch, because so often we're saying, we don't know the prices yet. So this car will start from €81,000. There's no grants because it's way above that price threshold. That's not including delivery charges. Probably be looking at about 1,500 quid for that. What do you get? Well, an over 600 kilometre claimed range, a 100 kilowatt hour battery gross size. So the platform the car sits on is PPE, which was produced in conjunction with Porsche. And they will use that platform on obviously the electrification and high performance Porsche versions of the car, and also from Audi with vehicles that are coming down the track. To look at it, it's an unmistakable Audi nose finish on it. We now have split headlights, so these are probably smaller than what we've become used to. There's an active air flap and curtain down below here. Aerodynamically, obviously this car has been designed to get as much efficiency as humanly possible. The claimed efficiency is about 16 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. Best I could see today on our drive was 22 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. Ideal temperature, sort of 20 degrees in Spain. Was a little bit of rain on the road, a little bit of wind, but nothing too excessive. So you would probably expect to see a little better in terms of efficiency with the car. PPE, by the way, stands for Premium Platform Electric, in case you're wondering. So we just call it PPE from now on. There's also a load of hens over there, so if you hear some rude awakenings, don't be alarmed, it's normal. Quite a powerful car, quattro to begin with, 285 kilowatt. There is a rear wheel drive version on the way, and there's also a smaller 83 kilowatt hour gross battery that will be coming. So in theory, the 81,000 price for now should get cheaper depending on what drivetrain you want. He likes the sound of the price, clearly. It's an Audi, so there is of course an S-Line version for just under €87,000, and there's a limited edition run of the car which will be available straight away with about €5,000 worth of extras that come in the car, things like head-up display, augmented reality, stuff that you would have to pay extra for. Audi say if you order the car this summer, you'll receive it approximately September, October time into Ireland. This new Audi is 4.7 meters long, it's a smidgen under 2 meters wide, and it's 1.65 meters in height. If you're trying to figure out will it fit into your garage, you can get 18-inch alloys. These are 21s, and despite the huge diameter of these rims, they still don't necessarily fill the arches completely. You can see some of the springs and stuff on show, which I don't necessarily think is a bad thing. Something you might be divisive on is this black insert along the side of the car. They had to do something with it. Silver, I think, would be a bit too much of an extreme, and you have e-tron inscribed on the side. We've seen it before on the Q8 and the initial e-tron SUV. We have some roof rails over here. This car doesn't have panoramic roof, but it's an optional extra. Rather helpfully, on this side of the car, there's an AC charging port, AC and DC. On the other side, it's a motorized door, and it's standard on all versions of the car. So as far as I know, you just touch it, which kind of feels like you're pushing against the motor of it, and you're kind of scared of breaking it. 526 litres in the boot, a flexible parcel shelf, 1529 litres. Then if you drop the rear seats, they can individually be dropped in a 40, 20, 40 configuration, which is really, really handy. You can lower and raise the suspension to get things in and out with switches here, and there's also handles to drop down those rear seats without having to go around to that part of the car. So that all makes life very easy. Depending on packs that you have, this car has storage nets across the actual boot floor, and then underneath we have extra space for, there's a granny cable tucked away down there. You'll fit your Type 2, but thankfully we have a frunk with 64 litres, which is very useful also. These are OLED lights on the rear, and there's many different signature styles that you can operate in the car. When you get up close to these headlights, they have these sequence when the car is stationary, certainly, because that's the first time we viewed it today, right across the back. Now there is an SQ6 version of the car as well. There's more power output with the same battery, so that will have SQ6 in the back, but this is Q6 with the red flag. Interestingly, the RS wheels have an RS inscription on the side, but this is not even an S-Line version of the car. And there's a wiper, very important. Wheelbase is 1 millimeter off 2.9 meters, which should give you plenty of space options when you're in the back of the vehicle, further enhanced by cutouts at the back of these seats. There is plenty of space for feet down below and knee room. The bench is quite supportive in terms of how far it comes out underneath your legs. There is ample roof height space now. This car doesn't have a glass roof. For a health warning, if the panoramic roof is on the car, that could just eat up a little bit of that space. In the back, so this car has a Bang & Olufsen sound system. These are illuminated tags. The tops of the doors are comfortable and reasonably soft to lean your hands on. We have window blinds that have to be clipped into place here to keep them snug, and you get your own climate control down here with some USB-C charging options to go with that. And if you're not using obviously the middle seat, you have this central armrest, which doesn't have anything fancy that pops out that might hold a tablet or anything like that. And Audi have spoke at length today about how this car is aimed at young people and young families. You would kind of expect there to be other bits for their tablets and devices to clip onto. You can't see the back of the headrest, the metal. There's nothing that you can clip onto here for an iPad holder. So perhaps it's not quite as family friendly in terms of devices and holding on to gadgets as Audi claim to be. The battery in the car, 590 kilos. The smaller battery, they'll just literally pull out 2 cells in the center of the car to maintain weight and balance, and also just keep the side impact options the same if in the unfortunate event you were hit on the side by a vehicle. So they just remove them from the center. That's how modular that battery pack now is. Audi say they can get a lot of efficiency out of the regen that's going on in the car. So there is one pedal driving, there's 3 different manual levels, and then you've got an auto regen, which really does very, very well. It seems to be able to read speed signs. If you're going downhill, it just does it seamlessly. You don't have to touch any pedals. It works really, really well. Charging speed, 270 kilowatt as standard, 800 volt architecture. It can split 800 into 2 for 400 each way, and can charge different parts of the battery simultaneously, getting you a faster charge. And Audi say you can get up to 255 kilometers of range in 10 minutes if you can get into a charger fast enough that can cope with that speed. There's no 22 kilowatt onboard option from what we can see. However, there's an AC-DC converter in the car. So I've asked and asked and asked again about 3-phase and all the different complications of 11 kilowatt AC charging. But Audi claim you can charge this car on a wall box at home up to 11 kilowatt AC. That's a big deal if that's true. Some of the other onboard stuff, Swarm data will be standard, and ChatGPT will be on the car from launch editions of it. Overview of the interior. The screen is possibly something you won't need. It'll be interesting to see what you get there if you don't get a screen, because I've only seen versions of the Q6 with that. But interior is really, really good. There is no rattles, no squeaks. It feels very well put together. And the seats, even though these aren't S-Line, so there'll be more bolstering on them. they are very, very comfortable. Haven't had to do this before, but Audi have asked me to let you know that to get here, they paid for my flights and hotel and bought me dinner a couple of times, but rest assured that is quite normal and it will have no bearing on my review of the Q6. 2.4 ton towing capacity, which might be of interest to you if you like your family holidays. 422 brake horsepower. There's actually over 450 if you use launch control, so it's not a permanent situation where you have that level of power. Yes, as you'd expect, the car has some beeps to tell you if you're going a kilometre over the speed limit. Easy enough to sort. There's a driver assist shortcut button here beside your gear selector, and you click that and it makes the noise pain go away. It's not the loudest of things. It doesn't pierce your ears. You could potentially leave it on if you wanted to. What is very cool is in the headrest you have a speaker that provides you with your navigation instructions when you're on a journey. And you can still hear it in the rest of the car, but it's not as loud for passengers, so it doesn't kind of intrude on them. On the flip side, the screen that's an optional extra, and your passenger can watch videos, and YouTube is the first app that they have integrated. They haven't worked with Netflix, for example, just yet. Perhaps that's on the horizon. But the sound from the video plays through the car speakers, which is a little bit distracting for the driver perhaps, so it would be nice if you could pair some headphones with Bluetooth on that screen exclusively for passengers, and then maybe the driver could still listen to music or whatever. At the moment you can't do that. Maybe it'll be an over-the-air update in time. Where it's really great though is it just gently steers the car for you in bends, and at motorway speeds it just takes the pressure off. If you're doing a long journey, you can literally hold the steering wheel between your thumb and your index finger. Not, you know, what you should be doing, but just to give you the context of how light it makes the steering feel with that travel assist on. Also an augmented reality head-up display. It has plenty of arrows as well as just your standard information that you'd expect. It'll show you the gap that you have between the car in front with the radar cruise also. And despite all the power, I mean, when you're floored, it's a good shove of power in the back, don't get me wrong, but it's not, you're not shoved into the back of your seat like you are with some EVs. It's more about comfort in this car. The damping, the air suspension is really wonderful. It's so comfortable. The car is very well insulated from the outside world, so in that sense you don't hear too much of what's going on outside. It's all about the comfort of you and your passengers. They say it has more of an ICE car braking effect, which is true. It just has a better pedal feeling for you when you're driving, if you get me. And that initial hesitation of using regen versus friction is not so much of a thing. So you do get a better sense of driving a normal brake pedal situation. On the regen, so there's an auto level and there's 3 overriding levels that you can use with the paddles. It's pretty much a one pedal solution if you do that, so that will make, again, it's one less thing to do. With the auto, regen is very, very good. So there's a little bit of tire squeal, but the grip is very, very good, as you'd expect it to be. The biggest noise you'll be dealing with is tire noise. It's not overly intrusive into the cabin, but it can be there depending on road surface. And now it's time to go home, but before I do that, my summary on the new Audi Q6. To sum up, the impression I have from the Q6 today is Audi have taken everything that they had in the Q8 and bettered it. It's more efficient. It has things like thermal management now. It's got more interior space, and the Q8 is actually more expensive than this car. So really you'd have to question why you'd buy a Q8 over this. It's a newer model, it's got new technology, it'll do faster charging, it looks better. It's quite hard to get a car of this size to look really good, but I think in this colour, Daytona Grey looks really good as well, with that beige leather. Looks really, really sharp. Looking forward to seeing an S-Line version of it as well. Yes, it's still expensive, starting from €81,000, but you're getting a lot of Audi for that, and a car that you'll be able to charge at home for very little, as I'm often saying in these EV review videos. If you've got kind of a night rig, you can really squeeze a lot out of what is probably well beyond your daily needs in terms of kilometre range. Great to drive, reasonably well to handle. It's kind of a case of what's not to like. It's just, I'm glad it's finally here, because we've been waiting a long time for the Q6. But on first impressions, I think it's been worth the wait. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.